They left at night so they wouldn't look back. The trunk was packed with boxes labeled in marker, an old blanket, and a single pot the mother said she'd use until things settled. The father drove in silence. He said only one thing: "It will be better there." No one asked for whom. The new state greeted them with emptiness. The house was smaller than the photos. The neighborhood was quieter than they wanted and louder than they expected. The first night, a pipe burst under the sink. The second, the youngest couldn't sleep, whispering that he missed his old room. The mother cried in the bathroom with the water running. The father left early and came home late, as if trying to prove to the city that he belonged. Money ran thin. Prices were higher. People were polite but distant. At school, teachers mixed up the kids' names. Classmates laughed at their accents. The oldest ate less. The youngest got sick more often. On Sundays, they spread old photos across the table and talked about their past like it was a place they could still return to if they tried hard enough. Then something happened that no one had planned for. The father didn't come home from work. His phone stayed silent. The clock ticked too loudly. When the door finally opened, he stood there with an awkward smile and a bag of cheap rolls. He had been laid off. "Just for now," he said. But his voice betrayed him. And in that moment, for the first time in a long while, they sat close together. No plans, no promises, just together. It was hard. It was frightening. But in that cold, unfamiliar place, they understood something clearly. The move had taken away the life they knew, and left them with the one thing that mattered most: each other. Winter came early that year, the kind that makes every morning feel heavier than the last. The heater worked only when it wanted to, and they learned to sleep in sweaters pressed close, sharing warmth without saying it out loud. The father searched for work every day. Rejections piled up quietly, like unopened mail. The mother found a part-time job that paid less than promised. She smiled more often than she felt. The kids learned to be careful, with food, with words, with hope. The city didn't notice them. Bills did. The car stopped one morning and never started again. They began walking. Together. Long blocks. Cold air. Silence broken only by footsteps. Strangers passed without looking. Once, a woman offered them a ride. They said no. Pride was the last thing they hadn't lost. At school, the oldest stopped raising her hand. The youngest stopped talking about friends. At night, the parents whispered about selling the ring, the TV, the things that still connected them to the life before. Every choice felt like another goodbye. Then one evening, during a storm, the power went out. Darkness filled the house. No phones. No noise. Just them. The mother lit a candle. The flame shook, but stayed alive. They told stories, not about success, not about the future, but about small moments they had survived. Laughter came unexpectedly. Real laughter. Surprised them all. The next morning, the father received a call. Not a miracle. Not a dream job. Just work. Temporary. Honest. Enough to breathe again. They didn't celebrate loudly. They made coffee. They sat at the table. The city was still cold. The future still uncertain. But something had shifted. They were no longer just trying to survive the place. They were becoming part of it. When my dad left, no one sat me down to explain it. One day he was just gone. His jacket was still hanging by the door. His coffee mug was still in the sink. Mom said, "He's working late." I believed her. Every night I listened for his car. Every sound outside made my heart jump. I'd run to the window. Nothing. Days passed. Then weeks. Mom stopped saying his name. She got quieter. I learned how to read her face instead of her words. At school, kids talked about their dads, teaching them to drive, yelling at football games. I stayed quiet. I told myself maybe he'd come back when things got better. Years later, I found an old phone in a drawer. It didn't even turn on at first. When it finally did, there was one message. "I'm sorry I wasn't strong enough." That was it. No explanation. No promise. For a long time, I was angry, not because he left, but because he didn't fight to stay. Then life moved on, like it always does. I grew up. I got tired. I made mistakes. And one day, I became a father. The first time my son cried, I felt something break inside me. Not fear. Responsibility. Now, when I come home late, my son waits by the door. He doesn't say much. He just looks at me. And every time I hug him, I promise myself one thing. He will never have to wonder if I'm coming back.